What is up, YouTube? It's your girl Evelyn, and today I'll be highlighting some 80s lesbian films of varying quality. Also, quick PSA, neither Desert Hearts nor The Hunger are in this video, because I already covered them in this video, which you should definitely watch. Without further ado, please sit back, enjoy the video, and make sure to let me know which 80s lesbian film is your favorite. Personal Best, or as I like to call it, Porn with a Plot, is about two Olympic caliber athletes who become romantically involved and must figure out how to keep both their Olympic dreams and their hearts intact.
Speed, strength, flexibility, everything I always wanted. You've got. If I had what you have, I'd... Fuck. What's wrong? I'm very fucking scared right now. Why?
First things first, Personal Best is very much a groundbreaking, trailblazing lesbian film. It was one of the first to depict quote-unquote normal women being gay without being ostracized or discriminated against for it. Not to mention, the plot has almost nothing to do with their gayness and everything to do with their actual relationship. But I would be remiss if I didn't bring up the Personal Best elephant in the room. It's softcore, and that is not me hating. Personal Best is, objectively, a very spicy movie. It was made for and marketed to the male gaze, which makes sense. It was 1982, and the number of mainstream films that explicitly explored romantic love between queer women was none. Really. Is Personal Best a little exploitative and creepy? Yes, but it is also a vital part of the history of lesbian cinema, and one of the first films to depict queerness as secondary to the relationship itself. So if you're a cinephile or just old, then by all means check it out if you haven't already. I can't say I personally recommend Personal Best, but I also liked Claire of the Moon, so...
You cannot trust anybody.
I never meant to cause you when it's all over.
Adapted from the non-fiction book Who Killed Karen Silkwood, Silkwood tells the tragic tale of nuclear power plant whistleblower Karen Silkwood, a complicated woman with complicated relationships.
Hey, Dolly, did you tell the company about the New York Times?
No, I don't think I remembered about that part.
In the film, Karen lives with her boyfriend and her openly gay roommate, Dolly. And quick shout out to Soft Butch Cher, who looks like she's about to change my oil, then give me a superior foot massage.
What's up, Daddy?
The film makes it clear Dolly is in love with Karen, but it also makes clear that Karen is the straightest of straights to ever straight. The real-life Karen's sexuality was far more fluid, and some believe she and Dolly were not just roommates, but also romantic partners, which, if true, is super disappointing. But I still included Silkwood because of Dolly. The film may have erased Karen's queerness, but surprisingly, it didn't shy away from Dolly's, and she's depicted as a proud gay woman. We see her enter into a relationship with another woman, she doesn't die at the end of the movie, and most importantly, she's played by Cher, who was huge in the 80s, and at that time, a star of Cher's caliber portraying a positive gay woman on screen was a rarity. If you haven't seen Silkwood, I definitely recommend it, but just know, it's not a happy film, and it doesn't have a happy ending.
That's me in the spotlight.
If there's one thing I love in a movie, it's a pretentious and stuffy academic setting, because
I'm classy.
Lianna is about Lianna, the young wife of a college professor who falls in love with a different college professor, a lady one.
I'm touching the back of your neck with my lips, lightly. You can feel my breath warm against your neck. You can feel my tongue, my teeth. Feel my fingertips.
Despite having the lowest budget of all the films on the list, Lianna is one of my favorites, partially due to my weird little academia bias. But I also love Lianna for the same reason I love Late Bloomers, a 90s movie with the exact same plot. Both films refuse to sugarcoat how messy and devastating it can be to end a marriage to be with someone else, especially when that someone else is the same gender as you are, and the original spouse is not. Also, quick side note, I will be starting a petition to bring back drinking wine on couches under soft lighting as jazz plays in the background. Lianna is a wonderful and extremely well-written film. In fact, it's so sensitive in its depiction of Lianna's coming out, it's hard to believe it was made in the 80s. So if you want to watch a sometimes painfully naive woman shoulder shimmy her way into her queerness, I highly recommend Lianna. Entre Nous is a French period film set in 1950s Europe and is about the intense friendship between a Jewish refugee and a wealthy artist, as both women navigate bad marriages, the pressure of motherhood, and their growing dependence on one another. Now, it's important to note Entre Nous isn't explicitly gay, but it is undeniably gay. What I mean by that is, after I finished watching it, I was convinced there must have been a love scene cut out of the version I'd watched, because it is so abundantly clear that these two women are f***ing. The thing is, Entre Nous is a very pretty film. It's very French, and it really is a lovely piece of cinema. But I kind of hated it for one reason. All of the characters in this film are super unlikable. They all come off as selfish jerks, and their poor children are either neglected or belittled. I can understand this to a point. Both women are stuck in unhappy patriarchal marriages, and they both suffer through trauma in their early lives. I get it, but I still don't like them. Entre Nous is definitely one for you cinephiles out there. It wasn't my cup of tea, but it might be yours.
You must understand the touch of your...
Adapted from the novel by Alice Walker, The Color Purple is an epic film that spans 4 decades in the harrowing, tragic, and exhausting life of Celie, a young black girl growing up in the segregated southern United States. The majority of Celie's life is spent at the beck and call of her cruel husband, the villainous Mister, played so brilliantly by Danny Glover that I refuse to watch any of his other movies for years.
I hate him so much.
But when Celie meets the bad girl, lounge-singing prodigal daughter Shug Avery, she experiences true desire for the very first time.
Oh, Twister, gonna steal your stuff away, ma.
In the film, Shug and Celie share a tepid kiss, followed by an over-the-shoulder camera pan, and that's as spicy as the movie gets. The book, on the other hand, is far more explicit, and even though it's disappointing, I can understand why Steven Spielberg in 1985 chose to downplay their romance. To be clear, I'm not saying he was correct in doing so. I'm saying it's at least understandable given the time period. The Color Purple is not only one of my favorite movies of all time, but I firmly believe it's one of the best films that has ever been made. If somehow you haven't yet watched The Color Purple, there is literally no film I recommend you watch more than this one. That is it for the list. I want to give a quick shout out to my newest patron, Susanna.
We interrupt our program to bring you this important message.
So I want to start highlighting more independent lesbian films on the channel on a semi-regular basis. So if you're a filmmaker or just an indie film connoisseur and you know of any quality lesbian indie films or short films that are currently available to stream, please shoot me an email and let me know. I also want to shout out my girl, Amanda Costner, who just started a brand new podcast called LezCast. The first 3 episodes are already out, and if you want to subscribe, the link is in the description. And while you're busy subscribing, you might as well subscribe to my shiny new second channel, Ridiculous Recaps. As always, thank you so much for watching, and don't forget to let me know which 80s lesbian film is your favorite.